Marvel Rivals is finally here, and I personally was very excited to get into this game, especially since I am an Overwatch fan and I am a fan of Marvel Comics. So, this was something that I was very excited to sink my teeth into. With that being said, I have participated in the previous beta, and in the betas, I did say that this was an Overwatch clone. Safe to say that as the game launched, it is an Overwatch clone. This does hold water. You can expect a lot of the same kind of tropes that are in Overwatch. It's 6v6, you have tank, support, and DPS in the names of Vanguard, Strategist, and Duelist. You have the objective based game modes, both Escort, King of the Hill, Hybrid, etc. And of course, you have kick ass powers and chaos that you would come to expect in Overwatch. It's also here as well. But when I say this game is like Overwatch, we're talking Overwatch 2016. We're talking there is no role queue, there is no role lock. You can have 6 DPS, you can have 6 supports. You're free to do as you please as it was when the game originally launched in 2016 for Overwatch. Now, that being said, this is a free to play, so you can expect very similar tropes. You have a battle pass that you could progress through. There are challenges to complete through the battle pass. You also have your prototypical in-game shop where you can buy skins, buy emotes, etc. The game does have a very interesting currency system where you buy lattice, which is your gold coins with money, and then you have units, which you have to then acquire by converting your lattice into units to buy things from the shop. And then you have a third currency, which is to unlock the battle pass items within the battle pass. Again, you can convert lattice into that same currency. I don't know why they have 3 different currencies for the game. They should just have the one currency. It convolutes something that doesn't need to be convoluted, but it is what it is. And the good thing is that it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so it's very, very easy to sit there and say, well, I have this many lattice. Do I have enough to buy enough for the battle pass or buy the units for the skin? It's a 1-to-1 ratio. It's very simple. But I just don't understand why they didn't just have the one currency. Now, you do have an assortment of heroes. The game did launch with 33 heroes. And when you go through the hero menu, you have everything that you would come to expect. You have the overview, you have cosmetics, you have the list of abilities that show you what the character is capable of doing. You have a lore, and then you have your proficiency, which is how much you've actually played with that character. Visually and performance, Marvel Rivals runs very, very good on my rig. I get about 80 to 90 FPS max settings when playing in a match, so it is running pretty good. I didn't really experience any bugs or glitches of any kind, so that's a plus for this game, especially at launch when you have so many people playing. The server stability has been really, really good for the most part. Controls, same thing. Per the course, it felt really good. Everything feels really, really good. Shooting feels good. Meleeing feels good. The controls are responsive. It's everything about the gameplay and how you play the game is fantastic. Now, obviously, this is the Marvel IP, and this is the bread and butter of why this game is going to be very, very successful long term, because it's Marvel. They have such a large surplus of characters. They have more characters in the pipeline coming through the following seasons. And of course, you have that lineage. Marvel Comics has been around for something like a century now. So all your favorite characters are here. You got Bucky, you got Moon Knight, you got Captain America, you got Wolverine. And the characters that are not here, like the Fantastic Four, they're going to be in the pipeline. Other X-Men are going to be in the pipeline. They have characters in here that you may not even heard of. I know there's characters in here that I never heard of, but yet they're here anyways. So in terms of roster variety, there is a wide variety of characters for you to find someone to be your main. That being said, when it comes to the roster pool of characters, the one mistake I believe they made with Marvel Rivals is similar to the mistake that Blizzard made with Overwatch. in that you have a very big discrepancy from the DPS characters to the other two roles. Essentially, you could combine the total hero pool of both the Vanguard and Strategist, which is your tanks and supports, and you have less characters than you do of the Duelist class, which is the DPS. It's literally a 2-to-1 ratio. And that's insane because what happens is when you have a game like this, and it is open queue, there is no role lock, you're going to get a lot of games where you're going to have 3 to 4 DPS. And sometimes you'll get games where there's no tanks or no supports, simply because everybody wants to play DPS. Now, while people playing DPS is natural, when you have the roster skewed this way, I mean, it's going to happen because people, not only do they want to play DPS, but they want to play their favorite Marvel characters. And when the brunt of them is in the DPS role, well, you're kind of encouraging selfish play by not spreading out the roster more evenly. But overall, in my games, it hasn't been too big of an issue because one of the positives about Marvel Rivals in comparison to Overwatch is less of an emphasis on counterplay. What this means is in Overwatch, that game's balance is specifically tuned for competitive play. It is tuned to be rock, paper, scissors-esque. Despite what Blizzard developers say, if the enemy team has a Pharah, you need a hit scan. If the enemy team has a high mobile character like Tracer, you might want some crowd control. Marvel Rivals is far more open than this. Marvel Rivals, because they really play into the hero fantasy of making everybody strong and kind of basically have the mindset of, well, if everything's broken, nothing is broken. Well, that approach has allowed Marvel Rivals the freedom to sit there and say, hey, you know what? You don't need a hit scan to deal with a flying character. You don't need characters with crowd control just to deal with a high mobile character. You can work around it more freely in Marvel Rivals than you could in Overwatch. What this means is Marvel Rivals is a more fun game than what Overwatch is, but Overwatch is a more competitive game than what Marvel Rivals is. But that being said, Marvel Rivals, despite the cool characters, the great visuals, the gameplay, the Marvel IP, the game is not perfect. There is a few glaring issues that I want to touch on that really hurt the experience for me personally on Marvel Rivals. Number one, my biggest issue, no cross progression. There is cross play in the non-competitive game modes, so you can play quick play on PC with a console player, but you can't do that competitively. But regardless of what you're playing, what you can't do is cross progression. That to me was very, very, very disappointing, considering all the other free-to-play live service games do offer crossplay, or cross progression, should I say, and it's not here. What this means is I have no desire to download this game on my PlayStation because nothing carries over. None of my skins, none of my battle pass unlocks is going to carry over to the other version of the game. And I think this is a major L in my opinion, because I do play on both PlayStation and PC. And when I play a game like Valorant or I play Overwatch, everything goes back and forth. I don't lose any progression. Where in the case of Marvel Rivals, I can't do that, at least right now. And that to me is an L in my opinion. Another issue that I have with Marvel Rivals specifically is the lack of information that the game gives you in the Hero tab. I spoke earlier about how the Hero tab tells you about the abilities and all of that, but it doesn't give you all of the information that you need to know. So I'm going to use Wolverine as the example for this. One of the issues I've heard regarding Wolverine as a character is the lack of damage that he does. And the reason why people feel this way is because they're playing Wolverine and they're attacking supports or other DPS characters, not realizing there is a fundamental thing about his kit that the in-game does not tell you. If you go to the official webpage, if you go to a wiki, you'll find out this information. but in the game, it's not here. Wolverine's damage scales by percentage with the maximum health of the target he's hitting. What this means is Wolverine does more damage to a tank than he does to a squishy. To put things into perspective, as Wolverine, you have an easier time killing Hulk than you do Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is harder to kill as Wolverine than it is the Incredible Hulk. Sure, Hulk is a bigger hitbox, 100%, but it's because Wolverine's damage scales with the target's health pool. The more health the target has, the more damage he does. So he plays the role, even though he's listed as a duelist, he plays the role as a quote-unquote tank buster. But nothing in the in-game menu through the hero tab tells you that. They don't tell you that his damage scales that way. So people are sitting there playing Wolverine, and they're playing Wolverine the wrong way because the game doesn't even remotely tell you that, hey, you know what? His damage works better if you're attacking tanks. It doesn't tell you that. There's nothing in-game that tells you. So a lot of casual players are sitting there saying, Wolverine needs a buff. He needs to do more damage. Chances are you're playing Wolverine wrong. Chances are, because in the games that I've personally played Wolverine, once I figure it out that his damage scales with health, I just beeline it to the tanks and I just melt them. And then I get my max rage, and then I attack a squishy, and then that squishy dies a lot easier because I'm at max range. It's something that the lack of information, this is just one example of what it is. There's a few examples in the hero tab where they don't give you all the information that you need to know about the character you want to play. You'd have to go outside of the game to find all the ins and outs. And I just think that if you're going to have this kind of discrepancy and this kind of information, it might be best to have that all included within the game itself. The last issue that I had with this game, but this is always an ongoing issue with any hero shooter, is of course balance. You know, you have your strongest characters in the game. Psylocke is really good. Mantis is really good. Hawkeye is really good. And then you have other characters like Storm, which is just poo. Like, Storm should be incredibly powerful, but she's so weak in the game for some reason. She's incredibly, incredibly weak. I have yet to see a good Storm player. And the irony is in the beta, Storm, I guess because the hero pool is much smaller, Storm actually wasn't that bad. But now that we have the full roster and there's so many better options, you look at Storm and be like, why? She's incredibly weak. So, but balance is always an ongoing thing, and I'm not going to be too harsh on Rivals for that. Overall, Marvel Rivals is a fantastic hero shooter that anyone should play. Overwatch fans are 100% going to dig this. Marvel fans, you're probably going to enjoy this game, mainly because the Marvel IP is going to pull you in. Marvel Rivals isn't going anywhere. It's going to be popular for a very long time based on the roadmap that we have going forward. They have a lot of heroes, a lot of stuff in the pipeline. This is going to be a great game for people to play. Just bear in mind that whatever platform you decide to play this game on, just know that that's the one. Be careful with what you choose, because currently there is no cross progression. So pick the platform that you play most on to get the most out of it. Otherwise, you will get frustrated with the lack of cross progression. Overall, I love Marvel Rivals. As an Overwatch fan, as a Marvel IP, this game is great. At least for me personally, I'll be playing a lot less Overwatch and more Rivals, simply because Marvel Rivals is more fun than Overwatch is, at least in present day. Overall, I'm giving Marvel Rivals a 9 out of 10. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.